Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show that cuts through the noise to get you straight to the knowledge you need. Today, we're diving into, well, kind of a quiet revolution happening in the B2B space. You might not see the big splashy headlines about this one. We're talking about vertical agents.
Yeah, forget the general AI assistants that still seem years away from really hitting the mainstream in a practical way. These vertical agents, they're different. They're the low-key, practical players already digging real gold and silver, so to speak, in specific niche fields, creating real value. So our mission today is to unpack the insights from the recent AGI Playground 2025 conference. We're drawing heavily from the experiences of a company called UT Technology and, importantly, their benchmark clients who are seeing, frankly, excellent quantifiable results. We want to uncover, let's say, 3 critical truths about how these agents are becoming like special forces for businesses. First, how do they actually find those specific high-frequency business pain points, the ones that generally keep executives awake at night? Second, how are they building these high-value closed loops?
Solutions that don't just work once but keep generating value. And third, maybe the most crucial part, how do they take this agent technology from being just a cool demo toy and make it a controllable, implementable solution in actual production scenarios, something businesses can really count on?
Exactly. And what's fascinating here, I think, is how these companies really embody a core belief. It's something that's becoming, well, almost undeniable now. The idea is that in the future business landscape, there will only be 2 types of enterprises. You'll have those that actively embrace and deeply integrate artificial intelligence, and then you'll have those that are, frankly, eliminated by the times. They just get left behind. So this deep dive is really going to illuminate the practical strategies behind this fundamental shift. We'll see how some companies aren't just surviving this change, but actually thriving because of it.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Let's talk foundations. How do you even start a company that's designed for this kind of future? UT Technology seems to live by this philosophy they call anti-consensus, doing hard but right things long-term. What does that actually mean in practice? It sounds good, but...
Well, it really means swimming against the current, doesn't it? For them, it meant focusing laser-like on these hyper-niche AI agents. This was happening when almost everyone else was still chasing those broader SaaS solutions, the big platforms. So their path looked harder, maybe less glamorous initially, but it's about having this deep conviction in what you believe is right, even if it looks like anti-consensus thinking to others. And then the really hard part, turning that conviction into a project, commercializing it, and building that closed-loop validation you mentioned.
Right, the feedback loop. So let's unpack this. What did the team actually see or learn during their journey through the previous SaaS era? That must have shaped this anti-consensus mindset pretty strongly.
Oh, absolutely. It's quite an insightful origin story. The core team, we're talking the founder, the COO, several key business heads that came from Yuan. Now, Yuan is a pretty well-known name in enterprise software, especially business intelligence. So these guys saw the SaaS era unfold, from its peak right down into its trough. They experienced the success, sure, but also saw the inherent limitations firsthand.
Okay, so seasoned veterans.
Yes, but they also brought in fresh perspectives, like their technical co-founder and CTO, apparently a self-proclaimed technical geek born in 2003.
Wow, okay, so a mix of experience and youth.
Exactly. And this diverse team, looking back at their collective SaaS experience, they identified this really crucial gap, this pain point in the traditional model. The issue is clear. Traditional SaaS, whether you were selling products like BI or CRM systems or selling services, it almost always involved these huge persuasion costs.
Persuasion costs, meaning?
Meaning you spend an enormous amount of time and effort just convincing enterprise managers that your product was valuable. You're constantly showing the potential management efficiency improvements or painting this picture of a digital pie that honestly required a leap of faith from their side. It was a lot of selling, often for benefits that weren't immediately tangible or easily measurable.
Right, selling the dream, basically.
Kind of. So from day one, literally day one, when they started this new agent venture, their singular obsession, their fixation became, can we eliminate these massive persuasion costs? Can we find a way to directly tell customers the precisely calculable ROI, the return on investment of purchasing our agent? No guesswork. Just hard numbers.
That's a huge shift in thinking.
It really is. And it led them straight to this incredibly focused core value proposition, which is only doing the most core bottleneck in the company's most core business process. Find that single biggest pain point, the real showstopper in their main line of business. And once they identified that bottleneck, the goal was incredibly ambitious, directly creating revenue or helping them significantly reduce costs.
And you mentioned significantly had a specific meaning for them.
Yes, they weren't talking about, shaving off a few percentage points.
Yeah.
They aimed for cost reduction not by half, which is already huge, but by at least 15, ideally 110.
Wow, 1/10. That's extremely aggressive.
Extremely. But they felt it was necessary. Why? To overcome the high management resistance and, frankly, the strategic inertia you often find in big enterprise digital transformation projects, you need a really compelling, almost undeniable number to get that kind of buy-in. And this whole approach, fundamentally, it's what we're now starting to call result as a service, or RIAS.
RIAS, result as a service. Okay.
Yeah. The idea is that the agent, the digital employee, directly takes on and bears the same key performance indicators, the KPIs, as the original human employees doing that task. And that's where it gets really interesting, because it completely shifts the burden of proof. It's not about potential anymore. It's about the agent's actual measurable performance against agreed upon results.
That is a powerful shift. Selling guaranteed results instead of just potential.
Okay, so they have this RIAS philosophy, this focus on massive quantifiable impact. But the market's huge. How did they actually pinpoint where they could deliver that kind of value? It sounds like choosing a vertical path, a specific niche, was non-negotiable right from the start. What was their process for finding those golden scenarios? Well, their approach was very empirical, very hands-on, and quite unique, actually. They didn't just sit in a room and brainstorm. They leveraged their existing network. Remember, they came from Yuan, so they had connections, and in just one quarter, they connected with over 100 potential clients.
100 clients in a quarter? That's intense.
Averaging about 4 serious conversations a week. But the key was how they approached these conversations. They specifically didn't ask the standard question. So what do you want to do with AI?
Why not? Isn't that the obvious starting point?
Because as they found, clients often don't really know what's possible. Or they'll ask for something flashy that's really just a demo toy, impressive on the surface, but not solving a core problem. So instead they had this very structured 3-step process. First, what is your company's most core business process? And within that, what's the absolute core bottleneck?
Okay, step 1, find the real pain.
Exactly. Step 2, what specific problem keeps your company's boss or the relevant department head awake at night? What's their biggest anxiety related to this bottleneck? And only then, after understanding the process, the bottleneck, and the anxiety, came step 3. Okay, now let's assess if our agent technology can actually solve this specific problem and alleviate that specific anxiety.
That's much more targeted, focusing on the leader's pain point.
Precisely. It grounds the conversation in real business impact. This led them to concrete examples, like an auto parts supply chain enterprise they talked to, their big pain point.
Yep.
A real lack of visibility on parts sitting in transit warehouses. Everything was manual reconciliation, very low frequency data updates, huge potential for errors and delays. So the agent proposal wasn't some sci-fi concept. It was simply improve the timeliness of data processing for those transit parts. A clear, high-frequency, high-impact pain point.
Got it. So finding the problem first, then seeing if AI is the right solution.
Exactly. And interestingly, last year, their strategy was purely focused on this only pursue scenarios, they called it. They weren't even focused on generating revenue initially, just find the best problems to solve. They explored almost every industry imaginable. And through this, they discovered that actually many industries have commonalities in their core pain points, even if they look different on the surface. This systematic exploration also helped them figure out which industries to strategically avoid.
Avoid. Which ones did they steer clear of, and why?
Well, for instance, they consciously avoided the medical sector. The reasoning: an extremely high entry barrier, obviously regulatory hurdles, but also it's crowded. You have these large established companies willing to invest without limits, throwing huge amounts of money at problems. Very tough for a startup to compete there. They also decided against focusing heavily on government and certain types of large enterprise clients.
Why is that? Seems like big contracts there.
Sometimes, yes, cases worth millions of yuan. But the revenue isn't necessarily healthy, as they put it. Decisions in those sectors often aren't primarily driven by the tech or the product itself. Plus, you often face really long payment cycles, which creates huge cash flow risks for a smaller company.
Okay, so avoiding high barriers and unhealthy revenue streams. That makes sense. So where did they land? Which industry did they choose?
They chose an industry that many considered anti-consensus for this kind of agent tech: high-end manufacturing.
High-end manufacturing. Why was that anti-consensus? Seems complex.
Exactly. Many thought it was too difficult, too specialized for agents at this stage. But U Technology had a strong conviction based on 5 key reasons. First, it's a national strategic priority, certainly in China. The thinking is if the industry itself is prioritized and supported, then companies serving it will certainly not be too bad in the future.
Right, hitching your wagon to a rising star, essentially.
Pretty much. A service company's success is tied to its client's success. Second, and this might be surprising, the level of digitalization in high-end manufacturing far exceeds everyone's imagination.
Really? More than other sectors?
Way more in many cases. Think about those examples they cited. Xiaomi or Tesla producing a car in minutes on a fully automated line. Or semiconductor fabs mass-producing chips with almost no human presence on the production line itself. This indicates a highly mature underlying digital and information infrastructure. It means the data is there, it's structured, it's accessible. This makes it the most complete data, most suitable point for implementing agent scenarios.
Okay, so the digital foundation is already strong. What else?
Third, these clients are relatively wealthy. When a company is spending tens of billions on a new production line, or tens of millions on an advanced business system like SAP or Oracle, then a several million yuan agent project to solve a critical bottleneck is quite reasonable in comparison. They have ample budget and experimental desire.
They're used to investing in technology.
Yes. Fourth, there's strong transformation demand right now. Current business pressures in manufacturing are relatively high, competition, supply chain issues, efficiency demands. So there's a real desire to use technology like agents to replace inefficient work and, importantly, allow their existing skilled employees to do more valuable things, move up the value chain.
Makes sense. Freeing up talent.
And the fifth reason.
The fifth reason is actually a barrier, but they saw it as a good barrier. An extremely high knowledge barrier. It takes a newcomer a significant amount of time. They estimated 3 to 6 months for semiconductors, maybe even longer for complex equipment manufacturing, just to become familiar with the industry jargon, the processes, the specific challenges. This deep domain knowledge requirement actually creates a defensible niche. It deters casual competitors and allows them to build real expertise. That's fascinating. Turning that high knowledge barrier into a competitive moat, it's a really insightful strategic play. But okay, they've picked their industry, they've found the scenarios. Now comes the hard part you alluded to earlier. Moving from an impressive demo toy to something that actually delivers real, controllable productivity in a live production environment. This seems to be where so many AI projects falter. What's the fundamental shift required? And you mentioned business know-how is key.
Yes, absolutely critical. The industry consensus, and certainly UE Technologies' experience confirms this, is that business know-how is the most important thing. You can have the best AI tech, but without deep understanding of the business context, it's useless. For them, the core principle for actually building products that work in the real world has been founder deep involvement.
Founder deep involvement.
Yeah. The founder explicitly stated, "I am not responsible for the company's external commercialization. I am mainly responsible for the product."
Yeah.
And he meant it literally. He was personally doing every proof of concept the POS had, that small-scale trial to test viability. He was personally going to every client site for research, sitting down, deeply discussing their core business processes, their pain points.
Wow, that's unusual for a founder, being that deep in the weeds on every single project.
It is, but his rationale was simple and powerful. Only by truly understanding the client's scenario can we create something decent, something that actually works and solves their problem. And they applied a very rigorous framework during these POSEs and the technical verification stages. They called it the 3 layers of abstraction.
Okay, 3 layers. What were they?
The first layer was about market potential. Does this client scenario have commonalities? Meaning, how many other clients likely face this same problem? And crucially, is the value high enough? Is it worth solving? The second layer focused on scalability. Is the standardization high enough? Could this specific solution be abstracted into a standard product component that allows for rapid replication across different clients, or is it a total one-off? And the third layer looked at the long game. Will our product have core competitiveness in the future because of this? And is the technical challenge involved actually worth pursuing? Does it push their capabilities forward?
That's a very structured way to filter opportunities. It helps ensure they're not just building cool tech, but building valuable, scalable, competitive tech. But even with that, you hit the real test, delivering real, controllable productivity. You mentioned earlier that many enterprise clients trying to build agents themselves hit a wall here.
Yes, it's a very common story. They get something working in a lab. Maybe it was great for generating reports or doing some basic analysis. Looks fantastic in the demo. But then, the moment they tried to use it in real-world operational scenarios, things stumbled, as they put it. Business users got spooked by the fear of uncontrollable live demo effects.
Yeah.
You know, the agent going off the rails unexpectedly. Or they simply abandoned it because the stability was poor or it suffered from severe hallucination, making things up. Reliability just wasn't there.
Right, the gap between a cool demo and a tool you can bet your job on.
Yeah.
So how do you bridge that gap? How do you turn that 60% good enough for a demo solution into the 90% or 95% plus reliable production-ready solution that real people will actually use day in, day out?
They use a really practical, down-to-earth analogy for this. They say, hiring an agent is like hiring a person. Think about it. You hired a new employee, and they consistently only perform their job correctly 60% of the time. Well, they'd be fired pretty quickly, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. You can't run a business on 60% accuracy.
Exactly. And yet, that's the challenge the whole industry faces with many AI agents right now. Getting to that 60% level in a controlled demo environment, relatively easy. But hitting 90%, 95%, even higher, the level required for genuine trust and reliance in a production setting, it is really hard.
Why is it so much harder? What makes that last 30% so difficult?
It comes down to a combination of things. It demands enough know-how about the specific business scenario, really understanding the edge cases, the exceptions, the nuances. It requires enough data, not just any data, but the right kind of high-quality, relevant data to train and fine-tune the agent effectively. It needs enough validation, rigorous testing in real-world conditions. And crucially, it requires both the willingness from the developers to prioritize accuracy above all else and the deep technical ability to actually achieve that accuracy.
So it's a mix of domain expertise, data, validation, and technical chops, all focused on reliability.
Precisely. And this deep-seated belief they had that accuracy and controllability were paramount. It was really validated for them at the World Artificial Intelligence Conference. Apparently, they went there with basically nothing tangible to show. No product, no demo, no video, just their core message, their one view. Agent technology needs to deliver real, controllable productivity. It needs 90% plus accuracy, and we believe we can do it. The response was overwhelming. They got hundreds of WeChat contacts, generated many serious leads just based on that message. It confirmed their direction was hitting a massive, widespread industry pain point. People were desperate for reliable AI.
That's incredible validation. Just the message itself resonated that strongly. So, okay, they know what they need to achieve that 90% plus accuracy. How do they actually do it? It sounds like they relied heavily on iterating product core technical competencies, but not in isolation. It was through co-creation with clients and continuous iteration.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Their development process is deeply collaborative, almost symbiotic with their key clients. They don't just build features based on assumptions, they build them together. Take their first core technical capability, complex document parsing ability. This wasn't developed in a lab. It was co-created over a rigorous 4-month period, working hand in glove with a leading chip design company.
Yeah.
Even if that specific client hadn't signed a long-term contract, the outcome of that intense collaboration was this incredibly powerful, technically competitive advantage in parsing complex documents, something they could then leverage with many other clients facing similar challenges.
So the co-creation process itself builds reusable technical assets.
Exactly. Another really compelling example is their structured content extraction ability. This was developed in collaboration with a major shipping client. Now, this client operates over 50 local ports globally. Imagine the sheer volume and variety of documents they deal with. Invoices, bills of lading, customs forms, you name it, from all over the world.
A logistical nightmare, data-wise.
Totally. And here's the key difference. In China, standard electronic invoices are quite mature, so traditional OCR optical character recognition works reasonably well. But overseas, forget it. There are often no standard invoices. Think about something as simple as meal receipts. Every single restaurant's format is different. How do you automate extracting data from that mess?
Yeah, traditional template-based OCR would just fail constantly.
Right. And they actually observed a prior attempt by a large company to solve this exact problem for the shipping client. This company spent over 10 million yuan trying to train individual deep learning OCR small models for each specific document format. But it was a disaster. It was incredibly high maintenance, constantly needing updates. It was unstable. And fundamentally, it couldn't solve the problem from the business perspective.
Why not? Even if it achieved, say, 90% accuracy.
Because they couldn't tell the users which 10% was wrong. It just gave a bulk accuracy number. So business users still had to manually review every single document to catch the errors. It didn't actually save them much time or effort.
The which 10% is wrong problem. That's critical.
Absolutely critical. So, U Technology's innovative solution wasn't just better OCR, it was about providing actionable intelligence. Their agent was designed to directly give confidence levels for each piece of extracted data. So the agent doesn't just extract the vendor name or the total amount. It tells the user, okay, based on everything I know, I'm 99% confident in this 90% of the extracted data, which, by the way, is often higher accuracy than human employees achieve manually. But, the agent continues, this remaining 10%, maybe these specific fields, or this line item I'm less confident about. These are the potential errors you need to focus your attention on.
That changes everything. It directs human oversight exactly where it's needed.
Precisely. It provides granular, actionable insight. That truly liberates business, as they put it, because you trust the 90% and only need to review the uncertain 10%. It makes automation practical and trustworthy.
That level of granular insight, that confidence scoring, must truly transform how these businesses operate.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit now to some higher level strategic choices.
Yeah.
UA Technology made a very deliberate decision, you mentioned, not taking super large orders, but instead focusing on building these complete end-to-end agent digital employees. That must be tempting though, right? Especially in the current AI hype cycle. They said it tests human nature because it's probably too easy to make quick money right now chasing big, flashy, KPI-driven AI projects.
Oh, absolutely. It tests human nature. The temptation is definitely there. They see too many companies buying DeepSeek integrated machines or similar hardware, wanting quick, visible AI projects driven purely by top-down KPIs, maybe without a deep underlying business need. And they've had to maintain real strategic focus by consistently rejecting these kinds of KPI-driven projects.
What defines a KPI-driven project in this negative sense? It's typically a project where, say, a big company president or CEO decides, we need to do an AI innovation project this year, and then forces a business department to kind of cobble something together to meet that top-down mandate. Now, they acknowledge that these projects often have a lot of money attached to them, which is tempting for a startup. But the actual business value might not be high, or worse, the project scope ends up containing a lot of non-agent related business things that are essentially just traditional digitalization or system integration tasks disguised as AI.
So they refuse these potentially lucrative projects. Why?
They refuse them for two main reasons. Either the project isn't really focused on their core agent competency, it involves too much traditional IP work they're not set up for, or even if it uses AI, it doesn't align with a genuine high-value business bottleneck where their agent can truly shine and deliver that 15th or 110th impact. They lack the business capability or desire to scale those kinds of diluted projects. Their commitment is unwavering. We insist on making products with the most explicit and core business value. Why? So they can iterate the product core, iterate PMF product market fit through each and every project. Every project has to help them refine their core agent capabilities and ensure their product truly has a place in the market in the future. It's fundamentally a long-term play, sacrificing short-term, potentially easy money for sustainable strategic growth.
That discipline is impressive, playing the long game. And speaking of their long-term vision, they made a pretty bold prediction you touched on earlier. Future agent must be vertical agent, will not be general. The rationale being that only by focusing on one vertical scenario after another can agent truly be done well. Can you elaborate on that? They use the deep research example.
Yes, the deep research example is a good illustration. Think of deep research as a highly specialized research report assistant. It's a clear vertical role. It has clear job responsibilities, likely to find standard operating procedures, SOPs, it follows. It's trained on specific data for that task. Now, could you technically ask that same agent to do, say, customer analysis or devise a sales strategy? Maybe you could generate something. But it's certainly not professional. It lacks the deep specialized training and know-how for those other distinct roles.
So specialization is key for true professional level performance.
Exactly. And this is where their thinking gets really interesting, this idea of hyper-verticalization. They draw an analogy to human work, referencing the Chinese idiom, 学以致用, which basically means everyone has their own specialized skills or field of expertise. Just like in the human workforce, each person has a specific job, their own business know-how. They argue that agent is the same.
So it's not just vertical by industry, but vertical by specific role or function within that industry.
Precisely. Their current understanding, their working hypothesis, isn't just about focusing on an industry like manufacturing. It's about focusing on a function, one specific role after another, within that industry. Think, a purchasing agent, a logistics coordinator agent, a quality control analysis agent, each one hyper-specialized. The ultimate goal is to make the capability of a specific role explode, become truly world-class by collecting enough vertical data specific to that role. That includes task thinking patterns, typical task paths, common exceptions. This creates the high-quality data sets needed to do vertical agent pre-training and fine-tuning for that specific role, making it incredibly proficient.
That's a very different vision from the idea of one giant general AI doing everything.
Very different. And they readily acknowledge this direction is still quite cutting edge, not yet fully formed. It's not something you can just buy off the shelf today, but they firmly believe it's a future direction. Their conviction is that a general large agent will not solve everything, at least not in the coming years when it comes to complex, high-stakes business processes. And this belief directly shapes their strategic choices today. They literally face decisions like this. Option A is a 3 million yuan case that relies on stacking people. Lots of manual integration, custom work, but it doesn't iterate the core product significantly. Option B is a 300,000 yuan case that, while not highly profitable, directly helps them iterate our product and scenario core for a specific vertical role. They explicitly, consistently choose option B, the smaller, more strategic project.
Wow. Sacrificing a 10x revenue opportunity for strategic product development, that really underscores their commitment to this vertical vision. It definitely raises that question you posed earlier. What's your take, listening in on that kind of trade-off? Immediate profit versus long-term strategic advantage. It's certainly a defining characteristic of these companies operating at the edge. But, theory and strategy are one thing. Ultimately, as they say, the success of any business model, especially RIAS, is rooted firmly in customer value. No matter how brilliant an agent digital employee seems on paper, its true value has to be tested, proven, and amplified through real-world customer practice. So to get a real grasp of this, let's bring in the customer perspective. We have insights from two key benchmark customers you mentioned, Zhao Dexu from Asia's largest flavor industry group, Huabao International, and Wang Xihao from Shanghai Mahle Thermal Systems, the auto parts manufacturer. What are these companies actually doing with U Technologies agents? Let's get specific.
Okay, let's start with Zhao Dexu's company, Huabao International. They are, as you said, Asia's largest flavor and fragrance group. Their market reach is immense. They touch a 40 trillion consumer market. Okay. As Zhao Dexu put it quite vividly, in every 24 hours, you will definitely come into contact with our products, whether it's the scent in your shampoo or the flavoring of the food you eat. A key characteristic of their business is customization. They develop bespoke flavors and fragrances for countless products. This high degree of customization creates an exceptionally strong need for AI.
Customization drives complexity, which AI can help manage.
Exactly. And they've moved well beyond just concept verification or pilots. They're applying agents in core business scenarios. For example, in R&D and production, agents are assisting with customized flavor development in production, helping to intelligently transform complex expert experience, the knowledge of their master flavorists, into repeatable processes. In sales and customer service, AI is used to generate seasoning pre-sale solutions, creating highly personalized pre-sales solutions tailored to specific client needs much faster than before. And in operations and decision support, they're using AI for market insights through AI data analysis, helping them spot trends and better predict market changes.
So really embedding it across the value chain. What about Wang Xihao at Shanghai Mahle, the auto parts manufacturer?
Right, Shanghai Mahle Thermal Systems. They're a significant player, a joint venture between SAIC Group, a major Chinese automaker, and Germany's Mahle Group. As Wang Xihao described it, they are a traditional automotive parts manufacturing enterprise, which means they are both technology intensive and labor intensive. They're facing immense challenges from market competition and cost pressures, making digital transformation not just a nice to have, but an urgent strategic imperative for survival and growth. And they've got quite deep with implementation. They've deployed 28 intelligent agents across various functions.
28, that's substantial. Doing what?
Primarily focused on core business decision support. This includes things like sales forecast, production forecast, market forecast. They even have a dedicated sales risk prediction intelligent agent. Their main focus areas for these agents are improving efficiency and quality in R&D, production development, and process management. It's about making the core manufacturing operations smarter and more predictive.
Okay, these are clearly tangible, impactful applications in both companies. Stepping back a bit from a higher level strategic macro perspective, what commercial changes or bigger opportunities do these leaders, Zhao Dexu and Wang Xihao, hope that agent technology ultimately brings to their companies? This isn't just about solving one problem. What's the bigger vision?
Well, both leaders shared a remarkably consistent and frankly quite profound strategic vision. He goes far beyond just efficiency gains. Zhao Dexu from Wabao actually echoed that foundational belief we discussed earlier. In the future business landscape, there will only be two types of enterprises: those that actively embrace and deeply integrate artificial intelligence, and those that are eliminated by the times. He sees AI not just as a tool, but as a fundamental productivity force. But what's equally important, maybe even more so for him, is enabling the business itself having the ability to self-evolve. How? By using AI to gain precise or private consumer data and insights, which then allows them to rapidly update and iterate your business model to stay ahead of market shifts.
So AI as an engine for continuous adaptation and evolution.
Exactly. And Wang Xihao from Shanghai Mali, he emphasized the huge impact that digitalization and AI intelligence are having on manufacturing, particularly with industrial profit margins being constantly compressed. For them, the strategic focus is squarely on efficiency increase. But importantly, he stressed it's not about mere cost cutting through headcount reduction. It's about achieving higher output and better quality with the same or fewer resources. They aim to achieve this through implementing advanced AI coach systems.
AI coach systems, what does that entail?
He highlighted two key benefits. First, using AI's powerful generative and analytical capabilities to improve user insight, interaction, and overall operational efficiency. Think smarter decision support, better forecasting. And second, leveraging AI automating repetitive rules-based tasks precisely to free up human resources for higher value work. It's about augmenting their workforce, enabling people to focus on complex problem solving, innovation, and strategic thinking.
Okay, both see it as truly transformational, not just incremental. This brings up a core question. How does this generation of agent technology differ fundamentally from the previous generation of SaaS tools? Is it genuinely different from what we've traditionally called digitalization? Or is it just, digitalization 2.0?
Zhao Dexu, given his extensive background in enterprise software and SaaS, offered a really definitive distinction here. He was very clear. He explained that SaaS, at its core, is essentially a tool and functional module. Its primary purpose is improving operational efficiency and establishing execution norms. It helps people work more smoothly and standardized within existing processes. AI agent technology, however, is fundamentally different in its nature and goal. He stated it's not a tool, but an employee that can think and act independently.
An employee, not a tool. That's a key distinction.
A huge distinction. The agent's goal isn't just to help humans work better. Its goal is the autonomous completion of complex tasks. It does this by utilizing self-calling capabilities, meaning it can access other systems, data sources, APIs to coordinate resources and make decisions on its own to achieve a goal. So the ultimate aim isn't just making people work better, but making people do less faster. And crucially, the strategic goal is freeing up mid to high-end labor knowledge workers for more strategic and creative work. It's about delegating cognitive tasks, not just automating clicks.
Delegating cognitive tasks, that really captures it.
Yes. And the clarity of this differentiation, he noted, has led to what he literally called SaaS anxiety within the traditional software industry. He said, the industry has formed a clear consensus that future agents, with their autonomy and goal-driven nature, are highly likely to fundamentally replace the value proposition and survival space of many existing SaaS companies. It's seen as a potentially existential threat to the old model.
Wow, that's a very strong statement from someone deep in the industry. Okay, so agents are fundamentally different. Now, let's get practical again. With 28 agents running at Shanghai Mali and Wabao International also deeply invested, these are experienced customers. What specific factors do they consider when they're selecting agent solutions or partners? And which types of scenarios do they prioritize for deployment first?
Both clients provide some really crucial practical insights here, highlighting slightly different priorities based on their industries. Wang Xihao, coming from the manufacturing perspective at Shanghai Mali, listed 4 key factors. Number 1, unsurprisingly, is information security. He said non-confidential information is done first. Start with less sensitive data and processes to build trust and test security protocols. He gave that powerful example of their patent application process. By using an agent for drafting and managing applications, likely non-confidential initially, they jumped from submitting 15 patents per year to 74 per year. Huge productivity gain in a lower risk area.
Start safe, prove value, then expand. Makes sense.
Second, building an internal knowledge base. He sees this as the foundation and core for AI coaches. This allows for private deployment, keeping sensitive company knowledge in-house, and enables the different intelligent agents to gradually correlate data among themselves, building towards an integrated enterprise operating intelligent network. Third, leveraging employee input. They actively use the employee questions asked in AI conversations, presumably with internal chatbots or help desks, as a direct source for identifying new potential scenarios where agents could help. Grassroots idea generation. And fourth, critical support. He stressed that management support and enterprise operational system support are indispensable. Simply implementing AI isn't enough. The organization needs to truly understand AI and adapt its processes, which requires top-down backing and IT integration.
Okay, so security, knowledge foundation, employee input, and management support from the manufacturing side. What about Zaodexu at Huabao in the flavor industry?
Zaodexu offered a slightly different but complementary set of criteria, maybe reflecting the R&D heavy nature of his industry. First, understanding agent capability boundaries. He asks, can it independently solve complete business problems? Can it effectively execute the operations of a specific role? Focus on end-to-end solutions, not just partial task automation. Second, scenario focus. Like Yuhi, they prioritize piloting agents in high-frequency, repetitive, and error-prone business processes because the development cost for robust agents is still significant, so you want to target areas with clear, recurring value. Third, emphasizing integration. He made a key point. Current agents do not have the ability to disrupt existing mature IT systems like ERP or CRM overnight. Their real value comes from deep integration and collaborative work with these existing systems, augmenting rather than replacing them immediately.
So evolution, not revolution in terms of integration.
At least for now, yes. Fourth, security is also paramount for them, requiring fine-grained permission control and careful assessment of whether private, public, or hybrid deployment models are appropriate for different types of data and tasks. Fifth, scalability. Ensuring the chosen agent solutions can adapt to business growth, process changes, and future connections to new systems or data sources. Planning for the future. And finally, regarding prioritization within manufacturing, which Huabao also does, he mentioned a preference for starting with sales, help me sell better products, and R&D, guarantee the entire life cycle. His tactical advice was practical. Prioritize easier ones first to build confidence and demonstrate quick wins. Select 2-3 benchmark projects, inject resources, and really focus on making them successful. Push them out regardless of cost initially to prove the value.
That's a very clear framework. Build momentum with easier wins in high-value areas like sales and R&D. Okay, that covers selection and prioritization. But then comes the always thorny issue of budgeting. How do companies, especially perhaps more traditional ones or those in places like China with established budgetary systems, actually allocate funds for AI agent initiatives? It's still cutting edge. I recall Sequoia Capital often talking about the challenge of getting recurring budgets versus one-off project funds. How do these companies handle it?
That's a great point. Wang Xiao from Shanghai Mali directly addressed this. He was quite candid, clarifying that the ROI for agent projects is often more potential initially, especially compared to, say, buying a new machine with a clearly predictable output. He specifically wanted to dispel the myth or hope that companies might have, expecting to reduce headcount directly to achieve ROI by implementing an AI system lacks assurance. He thinks that's the wrong way to frame it, at least initially.
So don't sell it purely on headcount reduction right away.
Right. Instead, he proposed a more pragmatic phased path. Start with a SaaS model, perhaps using cloud-based tools for non-sensitive data first. This allows users to experience the effects and demonstrate value with lower upfront investment and risk. He acknowledged the reality, especially in manufacturing, of limited innovation budget space. You can't just ask for millions for an unproven AI project easily. But, he explained, as employees start using these initial tools and seeing the benefits, their needs naturally emerge. They start asking for more, identifying new use cases. This bottom-up demand allows the IT department or business units to gradually plan and apply for budgets based on validated scenarios and user pull. And once you move towards local deployment for more sensitive data, the ROI calculation often becomes clearer and easier to justify for larger investments.
That's a very shrewd, organic approach. Start small, prove value, let demand pull the budget rather than pushing for a massive top-down investment initially. Okay, makes sense. Now, the next critical question for any company embarking on this journey is choosing partners. Do you try and build this capability internally, or do you rely on external vendors? And if you go external, how do you choose the right partner in this rapidly evolving space?
This is crucial. Wang Xiao again emphasized the realism of B2B. Companies, especially in manufacturing, have no time for trial and error with critical systems. They need solutions that work reliably. Therefore, he strongly advocated for choosing an enterprise that can truly provide B-side services, meaning a vendor experienced in deploying and supporting solutions within complex corporate environment. He specifically cautioned against choosing just a single domain AI function provider, maybe a company graded NLP, but with no experience in enterprise integration or security. Why? Because platform integration is incredibly complex, especially the challenge of securely embedding large models like DeepSeek or ChatGPT into enterprise-level data environments. You need a partner who understands and has solved these B2B integration and security challenges before.
So look for holistic B2B service capability, not just a niche AI skill.
Yes. And Zhao Dexu from Wabo added several more critical factors for partner selection, reinforcing some points and adding others. Number 1, echoing Yuhi's founder, understanding business. Can the supplier truly understand a real business scenario? Deep domain expertise is non-negotiable. Number 2, industry experience. Related, but distinct. They want partners with deep industry experience, direct experience in their specific industry. Flavors, fragrance, chemicals is best, but experience in similar complex manufacturing or R&D environments is acceptable. Number 3, team stability. This was a significant concern. Many innovative enterprises, especially startups in the AI space, may have problems mid-project, funding issues, pivots, key personnel leaving. They need a partner they can rely on for the long haul.
That's a very real risk with cutting-edge tech startups.
Definitely. Number 4 was interesting, supplier type. They explicitly stated they prefer startups over giants for these kinds of projects. Their reasoning. The giants often lack deep vertical focus. They try to be everything to everyone. They also tend to have high cost, low flexibility. Startups, if stable, can offer deeper focus and more agility. Number 5 concerned the budget view. They see AI transformation not as a discretionary expense, but as a must-have strategic investment. Therefore, they believe companies should not strictly evaluate short-term ROI initially, end quote. It requires tolerance and patience, focusing first on cultivating successful benchmark cases before demanding immediate payback. And number 6 was about project logic. He described a dual approach. Strategic goals drive top-down initiation. The leadership sets the vision, but the actual effectiveness and value emerge and are validated bottom-up through grassroots applications, proving it works in the hands of actual employees.
That tiered approach to validation, top-down vision, bottom-up proof, makes a lot of sense for managing risk and ensuring buy-in. Okay, so we've selected scenarios, budgeted, chosen partners. The final crucial challenge is evaluation. How do you actually measure the effect of an agent project? Companies can't just keep investing indefinitely based on potential. What are the concrete metrics that show it's working?
Zhao Dexu provided a very clear answer here, grounded in practicality. He said the absolute core evaluation metric is simple, whether the agent can truly help employees complete actual work. It's not about fancy dashboards or abstract potential benefits. It's about tangible utility in the daily workflow. Specific metrics they look at include, is the agent effectively reducing human demand for specific tasks? Is it shortening task processing time? Is it lowering error rates compared to previous human operations? And perhaps the ultimate test, can the agent independently complete a closed-loop business task unit? For example, can it handle an entire process like order entry or invoice reconciliation from start to finish without needing human intervention in the middle?
So really focusing on task completion, efficiency gains, error reduction, and autonomy within a defined process.
Exactly. And crucially, he wrapped up by emphasizing that every enterprise's business processes and pain points are unique. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. Therefore, successful agent solutions must be deeply customized and tightly embedded in their specific business scenarios. They cannot be generic, out-of-touch, universal tools. The value comes from that deep, specific integration.
What a journey into this world of vertical agents. It's really quite something. We've seen how this commitment to, anti-consensus thinking, combined with a relentless focus on direct, quantifiable ROI, and that deep founder-led understanding of customer pain points, how all that is genuinely building the next generation of enterprise AI. It's honestly inspiring to see companies like Yuhi Technology and their clients not just talking about the potential of AI, but actually making it work today, solving real problems in complex real-world scenarios. I think the key takeaway from today's deep dive is really clear, isn't it? The future, at least the near-term practical future of enterprise AI, isn't just about building bigger, more general AI models. It's about specialized AI. It's about these agents becoming true digital employees, niche experts, you could say, embedded deeply within core business processes, delivering tangible, measurable value, and importantly, freeing up our valuable human talent for higher level, more strategic, more creative work. We heard it in the examples. The dramatic boost in patent applications at Shanghai Mole, the refined R&D and personalized sales solutions at Huabao International, and we heard the critical underlying needs. Deep integration, robust security, and that strategic commitment to the long game over chasing quick superficial wins. The blueprint for success is definitely emerging.
Absolutely. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, I think this deep dive really shows us where the real deep work in AI is happening right now. It's perhaps not in the race to create artificial general intelligence, interesting as that is. Instead, the truly impactful work seems to be in this meticulous, often anti-consensus, detailed effort of transforming specific, complex, often unglamorous business challenges into quantifiable automated solutions. It's about deeply understanding the nuances of a particular role, like that shipping clerk dealing with international invoices, or that flavorist capturing their expertise and building an agent that excels at that one thing. And this, I think, raises a really interesting question for you, the listener, as a learner engaging with this material. Thinking about your own world, what specific bottleneck, maybe in your professional life, maybe even personal, do you think a hyper-specialized agent could one day help you solve? And perhaps more importantly, what would it actually take for you to truly trust it to handle that task?
That is definitely something to ponder as you go about your day. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of vertical agents. We really hope it's left you not just informed about this quiet revolution, but maybe also inspired to see how AI is practically reshaping business from the ground up. Until next time, keep digging deeper.